Well, where do we start? We've got to talk a little bit about the last result before we kind of move forward. Was there soul searching meetings? How did the whole place react after the 7-0 defeat, Graeme?
Soul searching, meetings, disappointment, wanting never to revisit that again. But within all that, you need to have a level head and explain why, or why you think it happened. And we've done that, so we're trying to look forward now, Luke, because obviously we need to look ahead and try and be positive and win the game at the weekend.
There was obviously a lot of reaction after that result. I think even if the side's doing amazingly well, you lose 7-0, there's going to be that kind of reaction. Do you so call that in? Do you listen to it all, or do you kind of zone out fans' noise and what they're saying about that performance and what they feel about it?
Bit of both, really. You have to listen, because their disappointment at the half-time whistle and at the final whistle was absolutely heralded. There was no question about that. But then obviously I've got to avoid distractions and I've got to be single-minded. In my approach, it's part of being a manager, and I need to lead the ship. I need to lead the reaction, and that's what I've tried to do this week.
Do you look at that performance, and although you don't want to put blame on the players, I think the players have come out and post-match interviews and they've said that we were just not good enough. This wasn't good enough. But do you look at do you think about changing things, or do you say that that's a blip? That all went wrong on that day. My philosophy about how I want Luton to continue to play remains and carries on through. We do it better.
Well, firstly, it's not just the players. I have to accept responsibility as well. I think it's bigger the players. It tells you that there's not a blame culture here. I think more than anything, it was my disappointment. Probably, I'd hoped that we're going to climb the league. I'd seen the performance against Leeds, which I was immensely proud of. The performance and result against Charlton, which I was immensely proud of. And then rolled out the same team and the same set of tactics against Brentford and got a performance that was unrecognisable. So baffled when you're dealing, I think, with an honest group of players. That was the biggest thing for me that I had to deal with. Why? And I feel like privately I've explained to the boys the reasons why, and I know we'll get a reaction.
I suppose after you've done all that soul searching, your next comment is you've got an ideal opportunity. We'll talk a bit more about Wigan in a short while, but you've got an ideal opportunity to almost put that right, haven't you, in the next game?
I think it's irrespective of if it's Wigan or Man United. We need a reaction. And I think how we've managed this week, we'll get one.
Let's talk about Izzy Brown. Where is he? How is he? What's the situation?
It's all great news here, Luke. Izzy's out for 10 weeks. And Brendan, obviously, a lot more long term. So, definition of management, I think, of where we are at the minute. Got to find a way. Got to find a way of finding a different formula. So that's where the work's been, as well as dealing with everything else this week. So, but I'd rather be positive, because you've got two choices. I can either look at it half empty or half full. Now, the two previous performances were up there with our best two performances this season. We need to use that as a benchmark. We need to go back to that. That was successful. What happens in football is it's easy to go one really poor defeat and one really poor performance, then the baby's out with the bathwater. Well, let's remember the other two games, because we're going to need a reference to go back to. There was things wrong in them games as well, but the application, the intensity, the intention within that framework was really, really good. So I've had to try and reset, and that's the kind of performance we'll be looking for the weekend.
You made the statement, and I'm not using this as a stick to beat you with to a certain extent, but you made the statement about Izzy Brown that without a player like Izzy Brown you wouldn't stay up. I think that was something along the lines. Do you then have to, I mean, obviously he's going to be out for 10 weeks, you then have to adapt, you have to change your way of thinking around other players and looking at it in a different way?
Yeah, I don't know if that was word for word, but...
No, I don't think it was word for word, but I mean, there was a statement made about Izzy Brown being vitally important for this.
He is vitally important, but I've been around the game long enough to know that the biggest quality you need in football is to be adaptable. And we found a way of winning games with him. When, you know, he was out the side for Forest really and Reading, and we weren't the same. Now we're in a moment where we've got to find a way with the players we've got. We're going to have to play in a different style. Remember, I inherited a diamond system here that had been hugely successful, and I've been a big fan of that and massively respectful of that. So within that shape, we managed to find a formula that I was certainly going forward happy with.
When a defeat like that happens, presumably the players, and for want of a better choice of words, the fringe players, the players who are trying to become those players that you pick week in, week out, do they then kind of push themselves forward and say, hold on a minute, you know, this side's lost 7-0, I want my opportunity to prove myself, the players that maybe haven't featured as much this season?
Absolutely, but for me they've been knocking on the door all season, but I think it's gone up a degree this week. It's what you want, because there's obviously, they feel like there's opportunities, there's an opportunity for places. I think how strong your fringe players are and how well they train and push the boys that have been playing really defines your football club, and they've been really good professionals from minute one. So
Wigan then finally from me. We ask questions about how important games are, and when you look at them, some appear to be more important than others. And I know answers from managers, yourself included, are often every game is important. But if you look at the significance maybe of the game against Wigan, it is a huge game for Luton, especially after the last result, and especially where Wigan are in the table in relation to Luton.
Honestly, I don't care who we're playing next.
Really? I mean,
we need to forget the team. We need a reaction. It's irrelevant if it was Man United. We need to react, and we need to perform, and we need to give the supporters something to get behind. We need to find a way. So actually forgetting it's Wigan and concentrating on our performances is where we are.
Just how tough a week was it as well for you personally? I mean, obviously as a manager of that defeat, you said you were disgusted by the performance. Did you need picking up? I mean, how did you kind of react to it?
Nobody's going to pick me up, Nobody's going to pick me up. There's only one person who can pick me up, and that's me. You realise that, and I've gone up a gear from a competitive point of view. I don't want that to happen on my watch again. I didn't want it to happen at all on my watch, but it did, and it shocks you, and you have to react. And I think I've been pleased with the reaction this week.
Did you bring the players in for extra training? Did you change things around at all for this week?
Well, from a sports science point of view, you measure a 3-game a week, which is difficult enough in terms of recovery. Then you measure the mental aspect, which none of us can measure. I've kept the week very similar to what a normal working week would be here, because we need to be fresh at the weekend, ready to lay a glove on Wigan.
And the back four, have you done extra with them this week after which they conceded as many as they did?
Well, it's not just the back four, it's the whole team. We've done work on the whole team defensively, absolutely.
And you mentioned obviously Izzy being out. Just for him, how frustrating is that? Because he just got back to full fitness and was playing really well. Is he quite down that he's now missing for so long?
Yeah, because he'd really committed to Luton Town Football Club. I think he felt important, he felt part of it. I think he was enjoying his football. He said that when things are going well, these type of things seem to happen to him. So I think there was an initial real disappointment at our situation, but particularly his own. So I think it's just been a difficult week for everybody concerned. But you know, what you have to do as a player is keep it in here and use it on the football pitch with actions rather than talking about it. And Izzy will be there on Saturday, and I'm sure he'll be behind the boys.
And you managed to speak to Brendan as well, because obviously he's had such bad luck with injury, and that's another, I'm guessing, a season-ending one for him. Just how is he as well?
Low, really low. I mean, he had a massive operation yesterday, so open surgery, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Obviously, it's a big injury that. We got whacked on the chin at the weekend in every aspect, and the one thing it's shown me is nobody's going to help us. We've got each other, and we've got to help ourselves, and that's the big lesson I've took from it.
And squad-wise, Martin Crane, is he come through this week now?
He's not far away. We'll have a late decision to make on Martin, and he's been back on the grass, which is a big help. We need his experience around the group, and so that's a bonus.
And you mentioned Glenn Ray's loan at Woking is now over. I mean, does he come back into contention for the squad for the match as well?
Glenn, I spoke to Glenn on Monday. Didn't want to extend his loan. He's played 7 games now for Woking, not full games, but he's played 7 games for Woking now. He's back amongst the group, but he's had a bit of an issue this week, so he won't be involved at the weekend.
And obviously Wigan, a club that's quite close to Charlton, I'm guessing, because you played for them and was assistant manager there when you won the FA Cup final. So it must be a club that you have got sort of good feelings towards.
I love Wigan Athletic. I had 8 years there as a player. As a player and assistant manager. I've won League 2 there. I won a Golden Boot there personally. Won an auto windscreen shield there. Won an FA Cup there. So I've got great history with a football club. But Mike, honestly, with the greatest respect to anybody, I really don't care who we're playing at the weekend. Luton Town's my football club now, and we need a reaction, and that's where all the work's been this week.
And just how big a part can the fans play as well on Saturday? Because obviously they were disappointed with the last weekend. You sort of urge them to just get behind the side from the start this weekend too.
Well, these moments were always going to come, maybe not 7-0, but we're going to have difficult moments, and really we're probably measured on Saturday. If we can be together after everybody's trying to fraction the groups and put in a big Luton Town performance, they're the days that keep you in the championship. So there's no point in fighting, there's no point in not being together. We need everybody pulling in the same direction at 3 o'clock on Saturday. So I've got no doubt they will.
I know you said the main thing is a reaction. When we spoke to Sonny Bradley after the game, he sort of suggested that the Wigan game is a must-win. How healthy is that sort of viewpoint from a player's perspective?
It's good, but when you see it in actions, that's where I make decisions. That's where I judge. So the boys have got the right intention. The reaction's been good this week at what's happened, and we need to react in the right way on Saturday. If we react in the right way, I'm sure the result will follow.
And Izzy Brown, I know he's at the game of the week. Does he stay with the group for that 10 weeks, or does he have to go back to China?
We're in the middle of that, really. It's not been 100% clear yet. We're still reviewing his scan and making a decision from there.